I am going to wait today to make sure that Rumble behaves itself. This is probably the last time this is going to happen, but I changed a bunch of stuff today, and so I'd like to make sure it actually works. With that in mind, while I am sitting and waiting, I guess, dear YouTube, whenever you finally see this, I am going to upload everything to Rumble before I upload it to YouTube. And that's for a few reasons. One, YouTube is a hot garbage platform. They just are, and that's how it is. There's nothing I can do about that. They very much actively dislike me. For those that don't know, there was about a 2-year period where if I appeared on someone else's channel, that person was going to get a strike. So forgive me if I am unwilling to broadcast this first to YouTube. You can find this on Rumble. Link will be in the description, along with, if you're on YouTube, links to ways to support me. There is the legal fund, there is the PayPal, and indeed there is a crypto wallet that finally is in the description after multiple years of saying that I'd get around to that eventually. Since Rumble seems to be behaving itself this morning, let's move right along. For those that don't know, here on Rumble, I used to run the channel Pleb Media on YouTube. I did political commentary, news coverage. I did a lot of, near the end there, I covered a lot of active protests. I was in D.C. for a bunch of Proud Boys protests. I went down to Florida and covered the mask protest in 2020. There's a decent chance that if you saw footage of the Florida mask protest, it was my footage. And then I went to January 6th, and I got hosed down with pepper spray. And if you've read my charging documents, and they're public, you will see that it says I assaulted a cop and I chased down another cop. And in a very Hollywood-like fashion, I guess you could say that's based on a true story. I was in D.C. on January 6th. I did walk from the Capitol Mall to the Capitol Building. There was a cop that arrested a guy for walking in. They had closed off some space. By closed off, I mean they chased protesters off it, didn't put up signs, didn't do anything. Just said, hey, don't walk over here. And one guy just happenstancely walked over there, and they arrested him. I was like, let that guy go. What the hell are you doing? And this was apparently me chasing down the cops. Okay, if that's what you want to say. I guess that is halfway true. Telling the cops not to arrest one guy for doing literally nothing wrong is apparently me chasing down cops. In this, I have reframed my view of a lot of law enforcement over time. We'll get to all that later, though. Walked down to the Capitol itself, and basically I just walked up to every fence line they had all day long, and I said, hey, what you're doing is wrong, and I'm here to tell you that it's wrong. I spent most of the day standing in front of one cop. He seemed like a decent enough guy. Probably shouldn't say that, but he in particular seemed like a decent enough guy. Was not enjoying himself. You know, there was a rather large protest in front of him until one of those guys that I'm almost positive was an Antifa dude ripped down the gate that I was in front of, and then slowly that protest made its way up the back of the Capitol. Now, according to the FBI, between the first set of barricades, right, and where we spent most of the day in the rotunda, I assaulted a cop. Now, what this means is that we all walked through the barricades that were down there to begin with. And by we all, I mean the entire protest of like 100,000 people. And a cop hit me in the chest and said, back up. And so I stopped. for a second, went, "Hey, man, you're by yourself." And he took off running because you should not be by yourself. And everybody knows this, right? And so I kept right on walking. Now, this, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, was myself shoulder checking a cop, the guy who was with me also shoulder checking the cop or some such thing. I don't know. There's this lengthy dramatization in which, according to the literal lying FBI agent who has perjured herself, and let's be clear about this is perjury. When you make up a story about what did or did not happen and you submit that in writing to a court, that is perjury. And so this agent perjured herself. Now, I would tell you this agent's name, but it is redacted from every piece of paperwork that I have ever gotten. So I don't know. I am not protecting her out of some love of law enforcement. I will tell you that it is a relatively short, fat, dumpy, ugly broad, because that is who handed me a piece of paper later in this story. But per them, if you read these charging documents, this cop hitting me is somehow or another me assaulting an officer. Now, there's video of this, right? Video of this cop hitting me. And so this is not debatable. This is not, oh, but I caught a picture sideways. No, the FBI had a video of this cop hitting me and submitted to the courts that I hit this cop. And why am I hammering this so hard? For everyone who has been running around saying, January Sixers should be pardoned except for the violent offenders. Well, if the Federal Bureau of Investigation was not unironically, quite literally perjuring itself, both in charges and things that they submitted to the court, then I might agree with you. But at this point, knowing what I know, being where I am, and I will try to get that video from my lawyer and post it at some point, but knowing what I know, that me getting hit by a cop is enough to get charged with assaulting an officer, I don't believe that a single person reasonably should be charged with basically anything. And thank God, unironically, that Trump basically took the same stance. Enough's enough. You guys have done literally everything wrong. You are a terrible organization. Now, if only he was going he was going to put them out of business. I'd prefer that personally. And truth be told, it's just. And this is a thing that people need to get over. I don't have a personal vendetta against most of these people, right? I do not have some personal want to see them suffer, but it is just to remove this organization. And some of these people do need to be charged. When you have committed crimes, right? 18 U.S.C. 242 and 243 are deprivation of rights under color of law, right? That's what these things are. They are crimes. It is just for you to be punished for having committed these crimes. And somebody needs to say that. It needs to be that agents of the government who have lied, who have tried to imprison people they politically dislike, some of them need to go to prison. And that's just the case. And if we're not going to do that, then this is going to happen again. And as long as we're going to permit that kind of injustice to be, then, horrible things are going to continue to happen. Back to the story. So I spend most of the day in front of this line, and eventually at, 4 or 5 p.m., something like that. I'm getting CS gas. They're hosing us down with pepper spray. They're using a lot of crowd control things. Truth be told, at no point do they tell you to disassemble, tell us to leave, right? And so eventually, 5 or 6 p.m. or something like that, somebody says, "Oh, there's a curfew in effect, and you got to leave." And I was like, well, the National Guard's rolling up. It's time to go. So for myself and everybody else who had showed up, I said, with me, I said, "All right, guys, time to get out of here." The National Guard is bringing probably not anything particularly courteous, so time to go. I stopped, and we'd put together some sandwiches and drinks, just water bottles kind of things and that sort of stuff. And we stopped and handed those out to the guys on January 6th because originally I was planning on being around all through the night because the Proud Boys are generally running around at that point looking for Antifa, who is causing a lot of problems. And so the expectation was in the middle of the night, there would be a bunch of people marching around D.C. trying to make sure that civilians, as it were, people not involved in the protests, are not getting hurt. And so having been to a few of those protests, in the middle of the night, something to eat and something to drink sounds really good after you've been marching around D.C. for about 6 hours. And I went, well, I got enough to do this through the channel and donations and those sorts of things, so I'm going to do that. So I handed those out to myself and a few audience members. By the way, a lot of people showed up to support this. I'm intentionally not naming names throughout all of this. If you are one of the people who supported myself, the channel, people on January 6th, etc., and you would like to name yourself, I will confirm those things if you want me to, but I will not be the first person to name you. It is just, I think that's bad policy, but if you really want to be known for this, then by all means, hey, it was me, I was there, and there's a couple of people in chat who've already done this, and yes, those are the people who were there. So, thank all of you for having been there and been supportive at the time. Back to the story. So, we hand out basically just some snacks. It's enough to get by, and head on home. And truth be told, things are just kind of quiet for a little while. And I think it takes until after Biden takes office. You're going to have to forgive me. It's been 4 years. But I think it takes until after Biden takes office before they start raiding January 6ers. And then so many of you, have seen the video by now. It's been long enough that these guys are running TAC teams at 5 o'clock in the morning, booting down people's doors and are, they're going pretty hard. And the point, as so many people have pointed out by now, the point is the next person who wants to disagree with the federal government publicly is going to think twice about this. This is, that suppression of free speech that they love to talk about whenever some leftist gets told that, they can't, be pro-rape or something on campus or whatever. This is actual suppression of speech. That's the whole point. You went to a protest. We're going to call it an insurrection. We're going to send tactical teams to get you at 5 o'clock in the morning. We're going to drag you naked out on your front lawn. And then, by the way, we're going to post the body cams all over the internet. And that's what happened. And so this starts happening. And I called, one, I got a lawyer. And two, I said, hey, lawyer, get a hold of the FBI and tell them that I raise prey animals, because I did, right? To this day, I raise chickens. And I said, hey, get a hold of the FBI and tell them, if they want to arrest me, just call, all right? And I will bring my happy ass down to the station. We can, you can arrest me there, because I have wild dog problems, and all kind, coyotes and all kind, I live in the middle of rural America, and I raise prey animals. Sometimes the thing that you need to do in this life is run out the front door with a rifle in your hand. And if my dogs start barking at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to get up and check the time and, look out the window and do all these other things. Oh man, there's a predator on the property. It's time to go shoot that, and so we don't have to deal with it. And so, lawyer calls up the FBI, tells them this. Along the way, he calls up somebody he knows individually, and says, hey, do you guys know Don Workman? And the guy he's talking to says, I have no idea who that is. No, we don't really care. And they said, well, do you know Don the Pleb? And they went, oh yeah, we know Don the Pleb. So for everybody who was wondering throughout all the years whether or not the feds were actually watching the show, yes, they were. So months and months go by, and I don't hear anything. And eventually, a couple of feds show up on the property and they say, "Oh, we want to talk to Don." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." And so I walked out my front door, and because they were in my house for unrelated reasons. So I walked them out the front door, and I said, "Hey guys, I'm going to record this, and there is a video of this. I have it, and it's pretty much they want to know if I know Enrique Tarrio, and they want to know." If I know anything about the Proud Boys. And I'm like, look, I've met Enrique Tarrio like 3 times. I basically said hello. No. Right? I don't know much of anything about him. On the other hand, if you guys are going to arrest me, like, it would be better for everybody's health if we didn't all get in a gunfight at 5 o'clock in the morning, so please just call. Now, for those of you who doubt any of this, this video is about 17, 18 minutes. I think it's on the long end of 17 minutes. It is going to go on the Locals channel. It turns out the audio of the feds sucks, so I'm going to try and fix that so it's audible and you can hear it. And then it will go up on the Locals, and if I can't get good audio out of it in a couple of days, then it's just going to go up as it is, and I apologize. You're going to have to turn it up a lot for the feds. But you can hear my side of the conversation clearly because the camera's pointed at me. And then I don't hear anything for like months. And we're going to digress a little bit from political story because it's going to relate to other things that we're going to talk about eventually. During this time, I get worms. Now, for those of you who don't know what worms are, it is a literal worm that grows in your stomach and it eats all the nutrients of whatever you're eating. And this gets so bad that... I basically can't get out of a chair for like a year and a half, kind of thing. And I can't walk to the end of my driveway. The VA, in infinite VA wisdom, tells me that I have COVID. And that, if I could remember that doctor's name, I would tell you. The wife probably remembers, because that guy's an idiot. And literally no lung involvement because it's worms. And this moron is like, well, but you share literally any symptom with COVID, therefore this is COVID. And I'm like, dude, it's not COVID. Stop. He throws me out of the VA and tells me that I should go to the ER. I go to the ER and they're like, we don't know what this is, but we know that it's not COVID. Like, I don't know why that guy said that. He's an idiot. And I went, well, can you tell people? And no, silliness. Absolutely terrible. But this leaves me with... pretty literally dying of a couple of parasites, right? Because I also end up with a bacterial infection out of this, salmonella. For those that don't know, if you raise ducks, this is one of those things that just happens. The ducks go dig in the dirt, they get worms. If for any reason related things happen, you touch anything that a duck has touched, you can end up with worms and salmonella and all the other things from raising these things. And so I am just pretty literally dying for like a year and a half, during which a lot of people, a lot of the audience here is calling me up basically through what is left of my social media presence, and a handful that have my phone number is calling me up and saying, hey Don, you're not busy anymore. Let's talk about God. And for those of you who follow me on X and or Twitter, this is how I end up baptized. There are people who are taking credit for this. I'm pretty sure the person or people who have actually had serious impact on my thoughts and beliefs and helped me get here are not the people who are running around screaming and taking credit for it. Again, I'm not going to name names, but the gentleman who baptized me is the last in a line of people who did this. That's why he baptized me. He's an audience member, and so, thank you to all of you. I want to pause here and say that there are a lot of you since the very beginning of the channel that have, hey, you don't believe, and I think there's something wrong with that, so let me dedicate some time and energy to that. I think each and every one of you was relevant to how we got here. And I appreciate the time and energy that all of you gave to get here. Which is to say, for those that don't know, I am a Christian. I do believe in Jesus, God, the resurrection, etc. That is not the point of this stream. I promise we'll get there later. But in short summary, that is the case. Anyhow, and this is going on. A lot of these discussions are going on while I am sitting here dying. And so for a lot of you who are wondering, like, hey, Don, you tried to bring the channel back a few times and it didn't work out. All of it was during this time. And so I went, well, the only thing I can do is make content. And then I started trying to make content, and I started, like, I was literally dying. So no energy, no nothing. And so there's a covering the Sean Ryan show. There's some guy that sucks. And he says a bunch of silly things. And I did the first one, and then I slept for like a week. I went, okay, maybe I can't do this. So I'm sorry. I was trying to get back to it. It just was not working out. And so, finally, things start working out around, I don't know, March of, what is that, 24-ish, I want to say. I finally get out of the VA. I get to a local doctor, and I'm like, hey, I have worms, because by this point I figured it out on my own. They give me some stuff to take care of that. And right about the time that I start feeling good, I want to say August 19th happens. Now, for those that don't know, August 19th is the day that the FBI showed up at my house and, brought a TAC team to my front lawn. And to be fair, they did not boot down my door. There was some debate about this. A little bit of that, you're gonna have to forgive me and my wife, as it were. A little bit of that was just some improper terminology by the wife. I apologize. I was in county jail at the time and could not correct this for at least a couple days. And then I wanted to talk to a lawyer before I corrected any of it, so it took a little while. But if you have heard that I was no-knocked, I was not no-knocked. August 19th, they roll up, they bring an MRAB, a Humvee, two molester vans full of dudes. It's like a platoon they bring down here. And I wake up to the wife, because I am still a deaf artilleryman, I wake up to the wife leaning over me, and she is saying, Donald Workman, this is the FBI. We have a warrant for your arrest. And, my bedroom is all red and blue flashing and all kinds of silliness. And so I get up and I, get dressed, because I've seen enough of this video. If they're gonna set out there and say something out loud, I'm gonna take the 10 seconds to put on shorts and a t-shirt. And so sure enough, I do, and I go walk out. And these guys, my view of SWAT is forever shattered. I've been told by a lot of people, SWAT that's where all the soft guys go. That's where, and they're all a bunch of badasses. These dudes were shaking in their boots, and I mean that literally. The guy that cuffed me, right? They walked me out to the MRAB, which they have parked directly in front of my door, and they're all cowering behind this MRAB. And when I say cowering, I mean, gentlemen, you don't stand that close to each other, because grenades and automatic weapons end your lives. That is a tactical mistake. You should not be in a big giant bunch. If you were in a tactical column of some variety, that would be one thing, but they were all huddled together. This is a huge mistake. You guys should know that. Special weapons and tactics. The tactics portion should have told you this is a bad idea. Now, I don't know what they told you about me, but apparently it looked something like I was going to rain down hellfire from the sky and kill all of them. Because I get over there, and this guy is literally shaking. And of all the things that, make you nervous, a tactical team who are so twitchy that they are literally shaking, and not just in the internet meme kind of way. And look, guys that are this freaked out on operations are the guys who kill people that aren't supposed to die. And I knew who was coming out of that house after me. My wife and my son. Wonderful. So, I start unironically cracking jokes. Hey, boys, you sure know how to wake people up in the morning. You doing all right? And they're still freaking out, right? And so I'm like, well, fuck, I hope this goes okay. Because at this point, there's nothing I can do. I'm wearing cuffs. They marched me over to, a state trooper, Texas state trooper, who, by the way, dear Texas DPS, I know that a lot of guys in this position end up hating you. I will love you guys forever. The trooper that you sent that morning, maybe you guys don't deserve it, but the trooper that showed up at my house on August 19th, has colored my view of Texas DPS forever. And I like you guys and you got my support until proven otherwise. Dear FBI, you're a bunch of pussies. And I mean that unironically. If you're going to show up with a tactical team, and you're going to bring 50 guys for one dude and be just terrified, you shouldn't be doing that, right? You should be confident in what you're doing. I'm not here to tell you that your heart rate shouldn't be up. I mean, but at least let the gunfight start before you're quaking in your boots. And they didn't. All right. Now, again, in the world of who should pay for these things, look, if you are going to run a tactical team, right, part of your job is and or should be, hey, I'm not following unlawful orders. I'm not taking TAC teams to American citizens' door who just went to a protest. Look, if I did this in a war zone, I'd be in prison. And if you don't like that, well, hey, you should go back and review. The guys who did the things that these tactical teams did in country went to prison. And that's just the case. Anyhow, getting back to the story, the wife is in the chat, rightly saying that, all of these guys are freaking out. Myself, my wife, and my son all in cuffs, and they're still freaking out. I don't know what they thought was going to happen at that point, but they were freaking out. And so, I sit down in the car and the Texas DPS trooper puts my son in the car, gets my wife away from the feds, gave me a second set of cuffs because they cuffed me like garbage. And at some point he asked me like how I was doing or something. I said, hey man, I know these cuffs aren't here for my comfort or anything, but can we do something about this? And he says, yeah. And he goes and he gets me a second set of cuffs and loosens them up and all this other kind of stuff. Great guy. And so, my son sits down in the cruiser with me. I told him, call Joe, right? So for those of you who don't know, one Joseph Dolio, tactical-wisdom.com, the Future Conflict channel here on Rumble and YouTube, is the only person I knew off the top of my head that my wife and son would be able to get a hold of and had some presence to do literally anything about this. Also, Joe has done a lot of law enforcement things in his life, and so I was pretty sure that if anybody was going to be able to take care, do anything positive here, it was going to be Joe. And after that, they pull my son out of the car, and I live right next to an airport. And so they take me over to the airport, and as they're taking me, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to fly me to DC like right now. Shit. And so, turns out it's an airport, so it's federal property. So it was their staging area because you could almost throw a rock and hit the airport from the back of my property. And so they were just using that for staging area. So they take me to county jail, and I spent all day in county jail. And early in the afternoon, they take me to the federal courthouse. And in the world of, I knew I made a good decision about Call Joe. I walk into the actual courtroom and my wife is sitting there, which, I was pretty sure that that meant that one, Mr. Dolio had an impact here. Which, by the way, after you've been sitting in jail all day, it's nice to see your wife. So thank you, all of you. And so they march me in, and they here's your long list of charges, and it's ridiculous. And they get to assaulting an officer, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, right? Because at this point, I have heard nothing. I know nothing about what's going on. And so, I run a chicken ranch, right? Outside of anything I've done on the internet, right? And so they get through this big spiel, and the DA over there is, he's dangerous and horrible, and but we're going to release him on his own recognizance. Wait a minute. Are you kidding me right now? You showed up at my house at 5:30 in the morning with a tactical team, put myself, wife, and son in handcuffs because, according to you, I assaulted an officer and I'm a dangerous felon, but also we're going to release you on your own recognizance. Which, for all of you who don't know, means there is no bail, right? We just arrested you, and now we'll see you later. Okay, fine. So, as I'm standing there and I'm listening to the bail conditions, one of them is you can't have firearms, right? Which is not a surprise. The feds arrest you. They don't want you to have firearms until, you've been convicted, then they don't want you to have firearms forever. And so I'm talking to they give me a public defender, right? Because my prior lawyer had retired from being a lawyer, and they weren't going to give me any time to get one, and so they just give me a public defender. And I says to the public defender, "Hey, I raise livestock. Firearms are actually a part of my business. Is there something we can do about this?" And he goes, "I don't know. Let's try." And he says, "Your Honor, my client is salt of the earth chicken rancher, and he needs firearms to conduct his business. It protects his livelihood, and this, that, and the other." He gives a pretty good speech. And the judge says, "Well, we've done that before. District attorney, what do you think?" And she says, the federal DA, "But he's so dangerous, and given the weight of the charges, of the gravity, and the insurrection," and she pretty literally just sounds like MSNBC for a little while. And judge says, "I was looking for compromise. Mr. Workman, what do you actually need to do this?" And I said, "I could probably get away with one rifle and one shotgun." And she says, "One rifle and one shotgun it is." So I spent all of my time on federal probation waiting for January 6 case things with a rifle and a shotgun. It was pretty wild. I'm not going to kid you. They released me, from the courtroom after that. And the marshals down at the federal courthouse were like, "I wish they wouldn't have taken you to jail. We could release you from here, except that they booked you into county. So now we get to send you back to county." So I go back to county, and I'm hanging out there, and finally at like 4:30 in the afternoon or something, they let me go, 4:30 or 5. My wife's there to pick me up. And all right, fine. I'm walking out of jail. It's time to go get in the fight. It's time to go start working on this. And as we're walking out, I got the gears turning. All right, back to social media. Time to go do all these things. Whatever it is. And the wife says, "Yeah, so Joe said start a give, send, go." So I did, for legal fees. And, they put it out on Future Conflict. And they've already raised $5,000, which was true. And by the way, in the world of earth-shattering moments, right? I've been on the internet a long time. The internet likes to not care about you, and so, I, in a good way, I kind of felt like I got hit by a truck. I had no idea what to even say to that, and so my pretty unending appreciation for Joe, Watcher, Scott, all the other Future Conflict guys too. It was pretty earth shattering to not be alone and kind of screwed in that moment. So, gentlemen, thank all of you. I really appreciate it, and I will forever. In that vein, though, from January 6th to arrest, that's pretty much what happened. We can cover some of what happened in court and those things probably in the next episode, which there's a very high likelihood I'm going to do these basically daily until I'm through. Hopefully, they will be in the vicinity of 20 to 30 minutes. I'm surprised that we got through that in 35. That was a lot. To be fair, I did a lot of hurrying. For all of you, I will... you can ask questions out in the locals. I'm sorry, I'm not going to read the comments section like I used to. I just can't. I don't... There are a lot of you guys that I really love and have been great over the years. And there are a lot of really horrible people in the comments section. And as much as I love a lot of you guys, it's a good way to get burned out dealing with internet comment sections. So in the hopes of not doing that again, and there actually being a lengthy quantity of channel, I apologize. I'm not going to read comments or chat or any of those things as I used to. Yes, I will still read Rumble rants and paid chats and all those other kinds of things from everywhere. Dear YouTube, because I will not run these live over there, I probably won't read much of what you have to say, but if you would like to post on Locals or Rumble or any of those other things, the likelihood goes way up. And with that, I will say that, again, there is the legal fees are not done. Just because charges were dropped doesn't mean that I'm off the hook and out of the woods. So if you have it in your heart and in your wallet, as it were, to donate, I would appreciate that. I am going to work on paywall content. By the way, if you are part of paywall content, I will answer questions there for sure. I do have a Locals that is the paywalled content. So by all means, if you're over there and, I glossed over something too quick or any of those kinds of things, feel free to ask and I will get back to you. With that said, though, the other thing that is indeed down in the description is a crypto wallet. After years and years and years of being asked for a crypto wallet, you can now find one in the description. So thank you for everything that everybody has donated, will donate, or is even trying to donate. I really do appreciate it. I get the impression that there's a lot of story to tell here, and I will probably come back and tell little parts of it along the way. I am certain that, Don, How You Became a Christian is part of that discussion, and so we will probably run another series, as it were, on how that happened and go into some details. So thank you all for watching. I will see you all tomorrow. I don't know where this is going in the long run, so for those of you that are asking, and there are many of you or have asked, I apologize. If I had a good answer to that, I would tell you, but I don't. So again, probably daily updates until we're through all the January 6th things. Probably not that much longer. There's some not awesome things that come next. So hopefully we can get through that without a bunch of drama and silliness, because it's the internet, and that's always difficult. So, thanks for watching, and thanks for any number of you that have started following since I said I'd be back. I get the notifications. Thank you all very much. And really thank you to those of you who have had, 3 years worth of patience with me at this point. I appreciate it. It is very flattering, honestly. So thank you all. I will see you again soon, probably tomorrow. Have a good Sunday evening. Bye, everybody.